In this video, we're going to be taking a look at atoms, ions, and the octet rule. In the top left-hand corner, we see that there is an 11. Remember, this represents the number of protons or positive charges that a sodium ion would have. This is known as the atomic number. Since we are talking about an atom, the number of protons or positive charges must equal the number of electrons, negative charges. Since atoms are neutral, they have an overall charge of 0. If we do the math on this, we see that 11 protons, which have a charge of positive 11, and 11 electrons with a charge of negative 11 would equal 0 when added together. An ion is an atom that has either lost or gained electrons and has a charge. Therefore, an ion that has a negative charge must have more electrons or negative charges than protons, which are positive charges. For an ion to be positive, it must have more protons than electrons. If we look at the periodic table, it tells us that sodium can become a positive ion. We know this because if we look at the bottom box at the bottom of the periodic table for sodium, we see the sodium is Na positive. Let's take a look at how this ion is formed. Taking a look at the sodium atom, we see the electrons in the outer shells. We see that it has a total electrons of 11. In the middle, in this little gray nucleus, we have the number of protons, and that would be 11. Notice that the nucleus isn't to scale, but it's just represented on this diagram. So the total charge of protons is positive 11, the total charge of electrons is negative 11, and if we add those two together, we'd get a net charge of 0. But how would we form the ion? Well, this would happen by that sodium losing this outermost electron. If this sodium gave up this electron, it would have 11 protons still in the nucleus. This number doesn't change, but it would only have 10 electrons. The total charge of the protons in the nucleus would be positive 11, and the total charge of electrons outside of the nucleus would be negative 10. If we add those two numbers together, we get a net charge of plus 1. And that's why we see this plus at the top where the ion is for sodium. Notice that they omit the 1, but it is there. So plus is the same as plus 1. Why do ions form? When an atom loses or gains electrons, it becomes an ion. Atoms lose or gain electrons because they want their outermost energy level to be full. This makes the outer shell more stable and less reactive. This ties into something called the Octet Rule. The Octet Rule states that atoms bond in such a way as to have 8 electrons in their outermost electron shell, or their valence shell. This is sometimes called the Rule of 8. Seeing this thing here, we have an atom right here. It has this 1 electron on the outermost shell, and it wants to have 8 electrons in its outermost shell. So therefore, if it donates this electron right here to another element or atom that wants a full shell, we would see this happening. Both atoms would therefore have 8 electrons in their outer shell, and basically we'd form an ionic bond. We'll be talking more about ionic bonds in our next video.